The farmer, in order to drive away the crows, placed a terrifying scarecrow in the cornfield. Unexpectedly, the next morning, he found that the field was full of crow corpses. What's even stranger is that anyone who has ever had a grudge with the farmer will all die mysteriously, and their belongings will be scattered around the scarecrow as strange things happen, one after another. The farmer's initial surprise slowly turned into fear. All this a blessing from the scarecrow, or an evil curse. John is the owner of this farm. Growing corn is the only source of income for their family, but recently, he has fallen into a predicament. The corn in the farm has suffered a once-in-a-century drought, and the irrigation equipment is old and broken, unable to get enough water. What troubles him even more is that, when the corn matures, it will attract flocks of crows. If no measures are taken, they will face a total loss of grain. In order to drive away these crows, he went to the warehouse to find tools, but accidentally found a secret room. There was also a scarecrow inside that he had never seen before. So he came up with an idea. That is to use the scarecrow to scare away the crows that eat the corn. When John was about to place it in the cornfield, his son came to the warehouse. He thought the scarecrow was very scary, so he begged his father not to put it in the field. John couldn't resist his son's plea, so he had to put the scarecrow back in the warehouse. Just then William, a neighbor who was also a farmer, came to visit. John told his neighbor about his trouble and asked him for advice on how to deal with the crow. Based on John's current situation, William suggested that he put the scarecrow in the field because he had read an ancient book. It introduces that scarecrows are very effective in driving away birds. So John happily accepted his neighbor's suggestion. But what he didn't expect was that, since the scarecrow was erected, strange things happened, one after another. The next morning, John found that many crows had died in the field, and the scarecrow was surrounded by crow corpses. The scene in front of him was very shocking. This is a strange scarecrow. Anyone who has had a dispute with the farmer, the scarecrow, will retaliate against him. One day, the bank's debt collector found the farmer. It turns out that his loan is about to expire. If it cannot be repaid in time, the bank will forcibly levy his land for auction. But he was rejected by John. The debt collector could only leave here. Angrily at night, the debt collector sneaked into John's farm, put up a sign for an upcoming auction at the end of the field. Just as he was about to leave, there was a roar from the cornfield. Then a shadow quickly rushed towards him. He was scared and ran away quickly. Unexpectedly, just ran to the road. A truck roared past. The debt collector died on the spot. Early the next morning, the town's police came to the farm to investigate, because before the debt collector died, he visited John. John said he didn't go out last night. His wife next to him can testify for him. After some questioning, the police ruled out his suspicion. Then John came to the field to check the growth of the corn, but unexpectedly found the debt collector's named Brand watching the field and a lot of scattered cash. Living in embarrassment, he thought of his own loan, so he quietly kept these property, then went to the town to buy all the fertilizer and spread it in the field. After returning home at night, John unexpectedly found his wife chatting with her ex-boyfriend in the room. The man hopes that she and he will go to the big city to live. John was very angry after hearing this, prepared to teach him a lesson. However, his wife loves John deeply, rejected his request. Then the man drove away from here. The next day, John came to the farmland for inspection. As usual, he accidentally picked up a ring. He thought it might be a gift from heaven, so he happily put it on his hand. Unexpectedly, after returning home, but learned from his wife the news of the ex-boyfriend's mysterious death. John also felt very surprised after hearing this. At this time, his wife suddenly discovered that the ring he was wearing was the man. The wife mistakenly thought that John had killed her ex-boyfriend. John quickly explained the source of the ring to him. Only then did his wife barely believe it. Farmer placed a scarecrow in the cornfield, but strange things started to happen, one after another. In order to get rid of this demon completely, John set the scarecrow on fire. That night, unexpectedly, the scarecrow appeared in the field again. The next day, he hurriedly found his neighbor in panic. William asked his wife to take out an ancient book. It records everything about the scarecrow. It turns out that the scarecrow was made by a wizard. As long as it is placed in the field, you will receive the blessing of the scarecrow. If the farmer encounters any troubles, the scarecrow will help him solve it. John was very scared. After hearing this, leave here quickly, unexpectedly, just returned home and met the police, who came to investigate. In order to explain everything that has happened recently, took the police to the warehouse. Just as John was telling him the ins and outs of the matter, the neighbor couple suddenly appeared. They suddenly lifted a wooden board next to them. The police couldn't dodge, got knocked unconscious by falling debris. The two began to scold John because he betrayed the blessing of the scarecrow. At this time, his wife heard the sound and walked in, but only saw John talking to himself. The neighbor couple had disappeared. She found the police lying on the ground, mistakenly thought her husband was the murderer. The ex-boyfriend might also have been killed by John, so she hurriedly fled here. In order to escape John's claws, she took the two children into the cornfield. In the panic, the son ran into the warehouse. Unexpectedly, the scarecrow came alive. Just when it was about to kill the boy, the police on the ground suddenly woke up. He tried to rescue the boy. Unexpectedly, he was killed by the scarecrow that rushed out. At the critical moment, John and his wife arrived in time. When she saw the terrible monster in front of her, the wife believed everything her husband said. John is not an opponent of the scarecrow at all. Soon he was knocked to the ground. At the critical moment, the son started a tractor next to him, collided into the scarecrow, successfully dealt with this terrifying demon. The next morning, the family dragged their tired body away from the place where they had lived for generations.